Well, good evening, everyone. It's great to see you again. It's Wednesday evening, so it must be time for the Pondering couch. And Kathryn, it's great that you are joining me this week to reflect on a little bit further, really, on what you shared on Sunday morning, which I know I find enormously helpful. Thank you. And I've been picking up on lots of other feedback from people who spoke about how just thought-provoking and inspiring it was. I think especially how you give us that idea of how it's not just about generosity to do with money, is it?
No.
It's about...
It's a bigger picture. It's about every area of our lives where we're being generous.
Yeah, absolutely. It was so helpful. No, thank you, Kathryn. And you said something at the start. I mean, it was really helpful because you were talking at the beginning, there was the verse from Chronicles, was it, that you had
Yeah, so when David, gave an offering and everybody else followed suit for the building of the temple.
Yeah. So it's something, isn't it, about, like, we're called to be generous, not just because it's a good thing to be generous and it's a good thing to give people money and help in other ways. But really, I guess you were helping us consider that it's about God, isn't it? And who we understand God to be and a response to God.
Yeah. I think that revelation of actually everything that we have has come from God.
Yeah.
And then that we're only stewards then. It doesn't actually belong to us.
Yeah.
It's always God's, and he's gifted it to us, and then so it then becomes easier for us to be generous with it because actually we're just passing on what God has given to us.
Yeah. But we were talking yesterday as well in the foyer, weren't we? Isn't there that verse in Deuteronomy? I was saying I read Deuteronomy 8 recently, and the people of Israel are going to go into the land, and obviously it's God's gift because he's been promising it for quite a while, but he says something there, doesn't he, God, through Moses, that when you've settled and you've got all this stuff, you'll say to yourself, I've acquired it by my own hand. And is that one of the problems with money? I don't know. Does it have that effect of sort of seducing us and saying, well done, you've earned this, you've deserved this?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? If we've got lots, then suddenly the temptation seems to be, I haven't actually quite got enough, I need to hoard and store a bit.
Yeah.
But there's also that proverb that says, Lord, give me enough so that I don't have to steal, but also that I don't trust in my own strength as well. So there's obviously an easier middle way.
Absolutely,
of being there. And, the Bible talks more about actually the dangers of wealth for those who are very wealthy than it does about the dangers of poverty.
Because you spoke, I mean, I always find it challenging. You mentioned something, I think, is it the barn builder in the gospel? And I mean, he's condemned and he's you're a fool and all this will be taken away from you. But he doesn't even come across as being particularly greedy, say, as we would think of it in the story. He does things that we would just think of as being very sensible. He saves and he accumulates, doesn't he? But,
he does, and but he just builds bigger and bigger barns. That's what he's spending his money on. Is making sure that he's looking after it rather than looking after other people. I'm guessing I always feel challenged with John Wesley's words that you should earn all you can, save all you can, and give all you can. And I think in the past I always thought save all you can meant that kind of like, actually I should be sensible and save some. But I think it was more like John Wesley would have shopped at Aldi and he would have made savings that way so that he could then be generous rather than saving it up.
That's brilliant. I've never seen it before. I've never read it in that way. That's save all you can. No, that's really helpful.
He would have been cutting out his coupons.
He would be, that's right, 2 for 1, voucher codes, I mean, there was another thing we were talking about as well after the sermon. I was talking about my friend Stuart, who helped start Urban Expression, the church planting movement, and Stuart has this great vision that he talks about sometimes. I think I've heard him mention it a few times when he's talking. Wouldn't it be great in church if the offering basket was passed around and you put in what you could afford, but if you needed 10 or 20 quid that week, you could take it out, which seems appalling maybe to some of us, but but it seems like quite an Acts 4 faithful vision. But I mean, with that, are we just too polite? I don't know. Are we too individualistic in our churches to have that sort of vision or understanding of church?
I would love it if that was the case, and that people, if they needed it, could help themselves as the offering plate. It would cause a nightmare for the treasurer with gift aid and things, wouldn't it? But I kind of think actually we'd probably be too judgmental, as we are at the moment, and we'd be going, oh, well, they're taking some money out and all that sort of thing. So I think it might not work quite so well, but it would be a lovely idea. But I think we need to move on in our relationships with each other, so that we're aware of each other's needs, and I think that individualism stops us from being quite so honest sometimes with each other, and I just think that would need to change. But also, just being really sensitive to the Holy Spirit and listening to him in prompts to be generous. Sometimes generosity doesn't come easy to all of us in all areas, but if we're listening to the Holy Spirit, he can give us that nudge. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, what you said then about judgment and stuff, and I mean, I guess that almost comes back to the last point that you made, or one of the things that you said near the end on Sunday, which was this is about being generous almost in every aspect, and I think what I heard you saying was, give each other the benefit of the doubt, and be generous almost in terms of kindness and gentleness and building each other up. So I guess maybe what you're saying, is it fair to say that we almost can't separate being generous with our money from being generous in other ways? It has to be like
it's the whole package. And if I'm generous with my things, I can't be thinking, oh, I hope they're going to be using it properly, or get fussy if they're not using it properly, or those sorts of things. Because actually, if it's not mine in the first place, it's God's. It's between them and God how they respond to my generosity. I'm just called to be generous.
Absolutely. Wow. Yeah. And it is an incredible vision, Axe, isn't it? I mean, they were just doing this quite naturally. It just seems to have been, it does seem to be almost like a byproduct, doesn't it, of everything else and their openness.
In that passage, what struck me was that they said it was because it was all tied up with God's grace. And actually, if you're aware of how much God has given you, then that becomes so much easier as well, because actually, I can't outgive God. He's been so gracious to me. Why should I hold back from other people?
Yeah, fantastic. Oh, thanks so much, Kathryn. I mean, it's been really helpful to reflect on this and just keep the conversation almost going and tease these things out. And I think someone else will be here next week on the Pondering Couch. I think Martin is going to be here with another member of the ministry team, and he'll be talking a little bit more about Acts 5 and the sermon which he'll be sharing. It's that part of Acts 5 that comes just after the Ananias and Sapphira story that you referred to as well, Kathryn. So we hope the rest of your week goes well, that this has been helpful, and also that you'll be joining us again on Sunday, whether it's in person in church or from the comfort of your home, as we carry on journeying through Acts. See you soon.